Hey there everyone, it's Rob Ryder. I'm fairly sure in this video you're going to see things that you haven't seen before. I know that I have, and I can't explain them all, but that isn't the point. The point is first to see them, and then we'll try to explain them later. So anyways, notice of bailment, Topeka, Kansas, 666 XX. Did you know that's the zip codes for Topeka, Kansas? They start with 666. Oz, Kansas in the UCC, where Robert Allen Retluski became Retluski, Robert Allen, debtor of Robert A. Retluski, Rockford, MI, secured party, as filed with the Kansas Secretary of State in the UCC office. Well, that was courtesy of Dun and Bradstreet. That's what they said. I've gotten a little bit different answer from the Kansas Secretary of State, and I was waiting to get that answer before I did this video, and so now I can do the whole thing. I'm sure that, like I said, a lot of this stuff you've probably not seen before. So pay attention, because you want to know, has the same thing happened to you? On Friday, May 11th, 2018. Caution, searching Duns by phone numbers. Maybe you have it for me. In case you didn't know, on the Dun and Bradstreet website, you can search for Duns numbers by putting in phone numbers. And what all that means, I'll get to in a minute. But first, Rob Ryder. My email address is quarterrecord@aol.com. And my phone number is 616-712-6179. Please donate. We're getting close, but I need to get to the end. I need a few dollars to do that. And I have to thank all of you who have given in the past to allow me to have done as I did. While it wasn't easy, it was certainly memorable. And it's still continuing. So let's go. Please donate. PayPal. PayPal account is Rob Ryder at AOL.com. You could use Western Union, Walmart, wire transfer. You could mail it to Robert Allen Retluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. However you think is best for you. But what about this notice of bailment that has been recorded, according to Dun and Bradstreet, where Robert Allen Retluski, although it doesn't use that name, it uses Retluski, Robert Allen as a debtor of a secured party, Robert A. Retluski, where the collateral is a notice of bailment. Well, what is a bailment? In contracts, basically it's delivery of goods on condition, expressed or implied, that they shall be restored to the bailee, by the bailee to the bailor, or according to his directions as soon as the purpose for which they are bailed has been answered. Well, what's delivery? The transmitting the possession of a thing from one person into the power and possession of another. So, just looking at these entities here, well, am I not Robert A. Retluski, Rockford, Michigan? Am I the debtor, Retluski, Robert Allen? Well, somebody thought so, or at least they used those entities. Now, they didn't do these as individuals, right? These are done as organizations on a UCC filing. What does all that mean? Let's just go take a look. So I got to jump around a lot because there's been a lot of things that have happened since January, but just here recently, I did a UCC filing in my last video, right? And what I did in the state of Michigan, and this would have been about April 23rd. Yeah, April 23rd. The dates are kind of important, right? So on April 23rd, I filed online a UCC financing statement, right? Me, my email address, me again. I do my address that way because I saw it that way on, that's like the care of line. Like Robert A. Retluski is the owner of a business, which its name is Robert Allen Retluski, and that would go on the care of line. Something I saw when I was doing stuff on the post office a few videos ago. But at the end of the day, what I said is there was an organization. Again, it's not an individual, right? No, it's an organization called Rutluski, Robert Allen. And I said its mailing address is my mailing address. One debtor, and the secured party was Robert Allen Rutluski. 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, right? Same address. So that both of these were organizations was the idea, and that one organization was the debtor of another organization was the other idea as I was putting this together. And so I filed this, and I said it had to do with the record of birth for Robert Allen Rutluski. It's all in my last video. You just look at the video just previous to this one. But just so we know where we should go, so that was called Name, Game, and the UCC. But to get a good flavor for all these things I'm talking about, you would have to go back to EIN and SSN in your own legal name just back in December. So between December and now, a number of things have happened. We're going to tie all those together. Now, in this video, EIN and SSN, I was showing how I had gotten an EIN number in my name as a sole proprietor, Robert Allen Rutluski, no additions, right? Sole proprietorship, using my address as the place of business, and I got an SS4 and a 147 letter from the IRS that they agreed. Now, the reason for that at the time was to say, okay, now if I get something that the name is any other way than that, I can say, well, you're not, that isn't who I am. The IRS has agreed who I am. And I did. Then I went to the post office, the Gateway of the Republic, and got them to agree. Well, then I decided I'm going to get a DUNS number because I had an EIN and I could get a DUNS. And I started to do that, and I got so far with it and let it set. Because what DUNS does is they put your name backwards as a business, Rutluski, Robert Allen. And I didn't necessarily want that, so I didn't do any more with it at the time. So that's kind of the background. But I did get a DUNS number. And I'll show you how I did that quickly. And if this leads to something, I'll do a much better video on that portion of it. But again, these are just the highlights. So, what did I do? I want to start here. So I did that filing on the 23rd of April. And then about the 1st of May, I get this letter from Dun and Bradstreet. Now, again, I had kind of forgot all about having done Dun and Bradstreet back in January. But I get this letter about my DUNS number, 081059976. And we'll see they do it with dashes and without. But it said that a D&B customer in the general government, NEC, which is not elsewhere classified, industry, has requested your company's business credit file. And according to our records, my file is incomplete, right? It's missing information, or we have not been able to verify your information, or both. Hey, company name, Robert Allen Rutluski. So I thought that was interesting. On this one, it's always properly done, right? Robert Allen Rutluski, dear Robert Allen Rutluski, for Robert Allen Rutluski. Company name, Robert Allen Rutluski. Number of employees, including the owner. It'd only be one. And so I said, well, that's interesting. I wonder what this is all about, because I hadn't really looked at this again since January when I did it. So then I decided to go back to my DUNS. Let's see, where is that? This government update on Dun and Bradstreet, which had to do with the way that I had gotten my DUNS number in the first place. And sure enough, there I am, right? There's my company, Rutluski Robert Allen, backwards. Now my address. It's a proprietorship. And it said, click here for a copy of your entire report. And so I did. And this is the report that came up. That right, the following information was reported on 2/7/2018. So again, I was doing this at the end of December, very first, or in January of 2018. I didn't like the fact they were putting my name backwards, so I didn't do any more with it at the time. But a report was generated sometime after I had signed up, and apparently on 2/7/18. So I don't ever remember seeing this report. That's what I'm trying to get to. But now I do have it. So I'm going through it, looking. Doesn't say much, right? It says my SIC code and my NAICS code. Now these are codes that I picked as I remember. I don't exactly remember exactly why I picked them, but you could pick your own if you were doing this, right? I don't really care what you pick. Except for me, I was trying to pick something that was non-commercial. That's the only thing. I wasn't really doing this as a business, other than to say I'm a nonprofit business, right? Not for profit. Well, this thing from Dun and Bradstreet says I got a UCC filing. The collateral's a notice of bailment. It's an original. The secured party is Robert A. Rutluski, Rockford, MI, right? That isn't an individual's name. That's the name of an organization, because that's the name of the secured party. And the debtor is Rutluski, Robert Allen, which is this business we're speaking of, right? Dun and Bradstreet's agreed. Filing number filed with the Secretary of State Division, UCC Division, Topeka, Kansas, back in 2010. All right, filed on one day, then latest info some days later, back in 2010. And then there are additional UCCs in Dun and Bradstreet's file on this company available by contacting that phone number. There are additional suits, liens, or judgments in Dun and Bradstreet's file on this company by contacting, but there was no phone number, right? This one had a phone number, that one doesn't. The public record items contained in this report may have been paid, terminated, vacated, or released prior to the date this report was printed. Okay, but nevertheless, there had been one at some point because they have it on here. And so I said, okay, well, first I'm going to call this phone number and find out, hey, what else is there? So I called them and kind of find out there isn't anything else on there. Now, this is like on May 1st, okay, so we got to get our dates right. I'm getting this letter. Well, this is the date that I did it, but they sent this letter to me on about May 1st. And so there's a week's time in between my putting in the UCC and this letter being generated, and then my going and looking at what they had to say. This wasn't actually printed until May 11th. Okay, I just did this one. Every time that you print it, it has different dates on it. Okay, well, what can we do with that? Well, then I decided I'm going to do a UCC-II, I guess it is. And so I filled this out. All right, information request on Rutluski Robert Allen. I want it all. Information options relating to UCC filings and other notices on file in the filing office that include debtor name identified in item 1. So what debtor name did I put in? Rutluski, Robert Allen. All of them. All. Got to pay for it. And, okay. Well, that generated, finally, this letter that came from Chris W. Korbach, Secretary of State, Memorial Hall, first floor, Topeka, Kansas, 66612. But it was mailed from 66606. Return to Robert Allen Rutluski, right? 10955, 42 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford. But look how far they put Michigan in the zip code, right? It's not even in the same part. Which was a hint to me, well, there's already something going on here. And I get this document. That says the Kansas Secretary of State, on 5/3, they got the request. Return to, hey, that's what was shown in the window. Name provided, organization, Rutluski, Robert Allen. But how did they do it? Without any commas, right? Lien, all copies, total matches. They said 0. Well, I got Dun and Bradstreet telling me that there is one, right? And now I have, close some of these up. These people telling me that there isn't. And I just got this, right? This is what I was waiting on to do this video. And so next week, I'll write them back, I'll fax them back a copy of this and a copy of the Dun and Bradstreet thing and say, well, I beg to differ. Dun and Bradstreet says I have a file or a record there, and that's the one I want. But they say I don't have one. Right? But look at how they did the name. And so sure enough, when you dig a little deeper and you look at how they're going to do the search and so forth, it's, this is what they did the search the way they said they were going to, and it didn't turn anything up. But I don't know that they have to do the search that way. So let's see what comes out of it. So hang on just a second. Let me put a few more. Okay then, so for a quick summary, I put the filing into Michigan, my UCC-I filing into Michigan, on the 23rd of January, or on 23rd of April. And sometime soon after that, I get this letter that says, for a Dun and Bradstreet number I had already set up, right, that somebody was in there asking questions. General, government, NEC, not elsewhere. Classified. And so those are like the General Accounting Office, the General Service Administration, all the things that start with general, right? They're the general government. And so, well, why were they looking? So I decided to go back and look at my account, which if you get a Dun and Bradstreet number will already be set up for you. And found out that this business information report was in there. Right? This Dun and Bradstreet report is provided for your company's internal review. This may not be used for any other purposes or shared. Sorry. And, but here the Dun's number doesn't have any dashes in it. And the name is backwards. On this letter, the Dun's number's got dashes and the name is forwards. Crazy. Okay. Now I got the Dun's number because I had already previously gotten an EIN number, right? This is my SS4, saying that Robert Allen Rutluski, 10955 42 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan 49341. That's the physical address of my business. The IRS agrees. Then they'll send you a it's called a 147C letter that you're supposed to give to anybody that wants to question whether, in fact, you have a EIN number. And there it is, Robert Allen Rutluski, 10955 42 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan 49341. Dash, now they put the 8664 on there. Not really sure why that is, but they did it. And you're supposed to be able to give this to anybody. So I got an EIN number, right? I'm doing business on my own name. And then having had that, because I did have it, I decided to get the DUNS number. Right? So that's kind of the way this all came together. And I can get rid of a lot of these things because it's just a quick summary of the history. Okay, so what are we going to do with this? Well, I'm going to show you in just a second. Hang on for that. Okay, so I'm going to contact the Kansas Secretary of State, find out, hey, how come you don't have a copy of this notice of bailment that you're supposed to have? And that, because that notice of bailment is going to show that these, the debtor and the secured party, they have addresses. And it will list the collateral. And so hopefully it'd say on there, hey, what I needed to do to get my property back, right? Notice of bailment. My property's been bailed between a debtor and a secured party. And so I've given possession and power over my property to a secured party, but there's supposed to be some agreement in place to get it back. Well, that would be in the notice of bailment, I believe. But since I couldn't see it, it's like, well, what else can I do? And since I hadn't really finished doing the things with the DUNS I was going to do, I've continued ahead with doing some more DUNS stuff. And so just a little about what is a DUNS number. Well, it was created in 1962, the Data Universal Numbering System, or DUNS, with an R, number, is DNB's copyrighted proprietary means of identifying business entities on a location-specific business. Okay, DUNS with an R and then number. If you look hard enough, sometimes you'll see DUNS number with the R after number instead of after DUNS. Well, those would be different numbers. Right? And so it's, it's like dual use of things where they put dashes in the same set of numbers to use it for something else, like it's in another set of books, right? Double entry bookkeeping of some kind. Just saying, pay attention to those things. Assigned and maintained solely by DNB, this unique 9-digit identification number has been assigned to over 100 million businesses worldwide. The DUNS R number remains with the company location to which it has been assigned, even if it closes or goes out of business. The DUNS R number, registered number, I guess, what the R means, also unlocks a wealth of value-added data associated with that entity, including the business name, physical and mailing addresses, trade styles, those would be the DBAs, principals names, financial, payment experiences, industrial classifications, socioeconomic status, government data, and more. The DUNS R number also links members of a corporate family trees worldwide. Branches on the vine. The DUNS R number is widely used by both commercial and federal entities and was adopted as the standard business identifier for federal electronic commerce in October 1994. Now, the DUNS number R was also incorporated into the Federal Acquisition Regulation, FAR, in April 1998 as the federal government's contractor identification code for procurement-related activities. Right? DUNS number R and DUNS R number. Apparently, they're different numbers. But the advantage of this DUNS R number is the fact that it gives businesses names, right? The full legal name of the business. Because that's what, DNB was saying was, here's the full legal name of my business, company name, right? Ralewski Robert Allen. So, if you were to search other people, it should give their businesses names. And that was one of the things we're going to look at. Is let's look for some other businesses and see who's there. Because now, well, in fact, let's do it right now. I've already done one. I already did me. right? If you go and on the Dun's website, you can do Dun's number lookup, and the first thing will be is other companies or your own, right? So other company, and then business name is how it's going to show up normally, or you can click on business phone, which I did, and I put in my phone number and searched. Hey, there's my business, right? I'm on Dun's, Robert Allen Retluski. It shows up that way. Well, then why on this Dun's report does it show up frickin' backwards? And this Dun's number doesn't have dashes. But the one that they contacted me with does have dashes, and the name is forwards. And so since I'm looking at a forward name now online, this must be the Dun's number they're using with the dashes. I don't know how much I know that it matters. I don't know how much it matters today. I'm just, we need to pay attention to all the differences. Okay, so hang on again just a second. Oop, not that one. Where am I? Pause. Okay, so back when I was going to get the Dun's number, again, this would be like January 2018. I'm on the Dun and Bradstreet website, Dun's number, launch, right? So it seemed to me you had to register to get this far with D&B, and now you want to get, yourself set up and get a D&B Dun's number. And you're going to launch, and first thing you do is look to see if you already have one. These are screenshots I did at the time. I was going to do more with this. I was going to do a video on this back at the time, but I didn't like the answer I got, so I never did quite finish. But okay, so you can get a free one, and normally it takes 30 days. That's what this would tell you. Or if you want to get it in 5 days, get a Dun's number. You just tell them you're going to, if you are a business required to register with U.S. Federal Government for contract or grants, you can receive a Dun's number in 5 days. Click here to learn more. Okay, I did. And if you do that, right, you can get it in 5 days instead of taking longer. Because I did, I ended up in this system. The D&B provides Dun's number as a unique 9-digit identification number for each physical location of your business. The Dun's number assignment is free for all businesses required to register with the U.S. federal government for contracts or grants. And again, I wasn't planning on contracting, but I'll take a grant from the government. That's what a land patent is. It's a grant. Go look at the definition of grant and award in a legal dictionary, and that's what I'm after. An award is something given to you by an arbitrator, right, after examining the facts. So it's not like awarding a contract as much as awarding you your property back. These were, the ways I was interpreting it as I was doing this. Because I know a lot of people are afraid of doing anything with the federal government, and myself, I have no fear. I was in the Army. What do I care? I was in the federal government. And then I worked in nuclear power plants. So, yeah. I want a contract. I want a grant from the federal government. That's what I want. And I want my award. So click here to request a Dun's number. And then you start filling it out, right? One thing I didn't like is I had to say it was the United States of America. But hey, who am I to argue? They didn't have just the United States, so I clicked it to keep on going. Knowing that I could stop at any time, right? But otherwise, I filled it out. So I'm not going to go through all this, but other than to say, right, when it got to what's the business's name, well, I put my name in and where it was at. And this is a lot like what the sole or the secured party was on the UCC filing. If it had been A instead, right, it would be Robert A. Retluski, Rockford, MI as an organization. But that would mean somebody had already had to set that up. And I don't believe it was me. Right? So this is the thing where, because these are organizations, there are other people that could have control of them, even though they should be ours. Somebody else is controlling it. We gave them our authority under a bailment. And if we can never get it back, well, then we can control the property. And anytime I do anything, this is really what I wanted to get to on this, right? You don't have a middle name, right? Whatever your first name is, if you have what you think is a middle name or been told, well, it's really your given name, so put it in the first name box, right? So Robert Allen is my given name. It's not Robert and Allen as a middle name. No, Robert Allen is my given name. It's my first name. Otherwise, you end up with an A in a middle name or something like that, right? I don't want that. No, it's Robert Allen. Full legal last name. Da 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 da. Fill it out. Fill it out. Had to verify my address. It seemed to me this a long time ago now. This is all straightforward stuff, though, right? What's the address? Rockford. Here they don't use MI. They use Michigan. They only use a 5-digit zip code. So what they're doing here is they're identifying your physical location, not necessarily your mailing address, right? There's only 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast within the zip 49341. It's a physical location. Name of the business, company address. Well, hey, it's the same as the physical location, right? It's always the same. So, as you can see, I didn't put the name backwards. I said it was Robert Allen Retluski. Then you had to answer some questions. That's code type stuff, right? If you do it, you'll find it yourself. Address, fill in. When did the business start? What type is it? Well, it's a sole proprietorship. And it started in 1958. I think that I had to, we're going to get here, I believe, that what you have to do is send them your SS5 as an attachment. Total number of employees, primary place of business was a residence, operates from the residence, the owner does, right? I mean, I'm happy to tie my business and my residence all together under my name. That was the intention. So all these things are wonderful for me. Other people had run away scared. Oh my God, what are you doing? Right? Because they're anarchists. They don't want to be in the United States. I am in the United States. So there's the name of my business, right? It's in the United States. All that's a physical location in the United States as a proprietorship. Well, there's only one kind of proprietorship, a sole proprietorship. I'm the owner. Owner. Edit. Okay, so I got all done and say, hey, it's going to take 1 day to give it to you. It's going to cost you nothing. Right? My transaction ID. Yada, yada, yada. But the problem is when they did it, where am I now? So this is that one. Number 2. Right, it gave me a DUNS number, but it put my name backwards with an A. And I said, I don't want that shit, so what do I need to do? Well, you need to update it. Submit update information. Okay. And I went back and looked, and now it was Retluski, Robert A. in the box. It's like, well, I didn't put that in. I put Robert Allen Retluski. So there you are. I change it. Submit the form. Update. I sent the update, and it says you got to wait, something like that. And it seemed to me when it came back this time, right, here's the edits I wanted to put in. I want the company name to be Robert Allen Retluski, not Retluski, Robert A. Submitted it. There it is, still the same thing, so I just stopped doing it at the time. But the reason for doing it, this right, it said to get it sooner, if you're going to register with the federal government. And to do that, it would have been on this SAM site, System for Award Management. I have to laugh because now they have this thing about putting a notarized letter. It says to go to their frequently asked questions about that. And so I did. And okay, now this is updated on April 26, 2018. GSA, which is General Service Administration, it's one of those general government things, is supporting an active investigation by GSA Office of Inspector General for the alleged third-party fraudulent activity in SAM. At this time, only a limited number of entities registered in SAM are suspected of being impacted by this alleged fraudulent activity. GSA has already taken proactive steps to address this issue and notified affected entities. The GSA will continue to work with the OIG law enforcement agencies to take additional actions as appropriate. Well, this is 3 days after I put in the UCC filing at the state of Michigan. So we'll see what happens. But what they decided to do is make you fill out a where was it? Fill out a letter as an affidavit. So I've done all this now and sent it in. But I think that they did all this because I had, tapped on the door saying, hey, that Dun's name, Rutluski Robert Allen, which is already a debtor and has been since 2010 out in Kansas, is actually, my business, and I'm claiming it. And so I've done the things now with Sam that Sam would need for me to get registered, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get registered with Sam for this business here. And where does it say right now? Right now I'm at the submitted stage. Your entity registration is currently submitted. You will not be able to update your registration until it either becomes active or is returned as a work in progress. If applicable, your entity's taxpayer information is sent to the IRS for validation. They did that and it came back validated. When that is complete, your registration is sent to CAGE code assignment or validation. So I'm trying to get a thing called a CAGE code now. These external reviews can take up to 10 days. Well, part of that is you had to submit this form they were talking about. And so I did. It's just going to show me. All right. Dun's backwards. Last updated by me, Robert Allen Rutluski. Submitted. Registration passed. IRS 10 match. That's done. Registration is pending. CAGE validation. Not quite done yet. What's a CAGE number? The Commercial and Government Entity Code, CAGE code, is a unique identifier assigned to suppliers to various government or defense agencies, as well as to government agencies themselves and also various organizations. A CAGE code provides a standardized method of identifying a given facility at a specific location. So again, my business is going to be recognized at a specific location now by the Department of Defense. Now, the Department of Defense, to me, is the one that's running the government because we're under war powers, right? They just were saying last week that the Korean War is still, there's never been a peace treaty signed. There's gold fringe flags in courtrooms. There's all sorts of reasons to say, hey, we're under martial law. It goes back to the Civil War. Once martial law has been, this is in the Lieber Code. That's its common name. It's called the Lieber Code. Article 2 talks about martial law. And once martial law has been declared, it takes specific things to rescind it. And I can't find any evidence that these things have ever been done. And so we're still under martial law, have been since the Civil War. And it's ongoing because they have all sorts of emergency states of emergency going on, right? Declared emergencies. These are all indications that we're under some form of suppressed constitution, martial law. Another thing that happens when the Constitution is being suppressed is there is no habeas corpus. That was what they got rid of first in the during the Civil War was writs of habeas corpus were suspended. Well, if you do that, you're no longer under the Constitution. I believe they're still suspended. I know lots of people have tried to get rid of habeas corpus and it hasn't worked. I don't know anybody that's ever done it and gotten rid of habeas corpus. So, having the military government know that who I am, where I am, and that I'm not an enemy of the United States, right? I served 8 years in the Army. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm not the belligerent. So I'm waiting for them to agree. If they give me a cage code, well, they've agreed. And part of the cage code process through SAM is you need to give them your banking information and your ACH, which is the automatic clearinghouse that your bank uses, the phone number for it. Well, that isn't so that you can send them wire transfers, it's so they can send you wire transfers. Right? I would need their ACH if I was trying to send something to them, right? But if I'm not, they would need it if they wanted to send something to me. So those are the reasons I'm doing it. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm not telling anybody else to go run out and do this, but, I did it. I'm going to see what happens. And why did I do it? Well, because I had a DUNS number and I could. And it's free. And all these are just, so the IRS, the Post Office, the Department of Treasury for Michigan, DUNS, now the Secretary of State, and now Cage have all going to agree that there's a business, Robert Allen Rytlewski, doing business at 10955 14 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan, 49341-8664. And I don't think before that they had us tied to physical locations. Right? They treat us like we're lost beyond the sea. We haven't ever come back, according to the UCC-II Act of 1666, and claimed our property from the proper magistrate. They don't really ever tell you who that is, but that's the process. The UCC-II Act 1666 has everybody presumed lost beyond the sea, but gives the remedy to come back to the proper magistrate and say, well, I'm not lost, I'm back, and they're holding your property, supposed to give it back to you. So we're trying to get done. Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, so on the Kansas website, it said that the online search you perform yourself is non-standard loose search. The online search is $10, but to do it, you got to be a subscriber. So you got to, as it turns out, if you want to do an online search of UCC filings in Kansas, you have to pay $120 first to become a subscriber. And then you can do this. Otherwise, you do it by paper. Search request submitted to our office must be on a UCC-II information request. The search request is $20 per name. Includes filing date, file number, debtor name, secured party. If you would like copies of the file documents which appear on the search, indicate this in the request. Copies of file documents would be $1. So I figured, okay, it's going to cost me $21. And then I saw it was going to cost $20 because they had, processed the payment last week, even before I got the reply. So it's like, well, there's no sheets. There's not $21, it's only $20. So I knew that I wasn't really going to get the answer I wanted. Like, where's the notice of bailment, which is what I'm really looking for in this case. But it said the paper search request that you submitted to our office is a RA9 standard search, which we perform for you in our office and then send you the search results. The standard search uses search logic defined in KAR 71722, which is part of the UCC Act in Kansas. And it's, by the way they're doing it, they're not going to search on Robert or Rutluski, Robert Allen. They're going to put it all together and search that way. And they didn't find anything. Imagine that. So this is where I said, well, okay, I'll just contact them next week. Right, there's their fax number. And I'll send them a copy of what they sent me in the mail and a copy of what I got from Dun and Bradstreet and say, well, Dun and Bradstreet says I have something there. This is what I want, this thing here with a file number. Because D&B did say I had a file number. I was just trying to do it off the name. Like, okay, I'll just do it off of the entity's name. So that'll take care of itself. But in the meantime, because I hadn't really ever played around the Dun and Bradstreet site much. And, Dun and Bradstreet, Dun's number lookup. Okay. And like I said, you can do it by other company or your company. Well, other company. Normally, it would be set up by business name. And so, as it turns out, like if I put in County of Kent with Michigan and did a search, all of these entities come up that call themselves County of Kent, which doesn't look very impressive yet, but it's just the last one I did, so we'll wait. What I want to show you is if you go to this site, and here you got to put in the state or county, and you'll see that it doesn't like to leave the thing up, right? So if you double click it and take your finger off and just leave it alone for a second, it'll settle down and you can pick whatever one you're going to use. Okay, so that's the way to do it by a business name, but the other way is to do it by a business phone. Then it just, right, there's my phone number. I'll search on it, and sure enough, I'm in there. Well, let's do some other ones then. That's what I said. Well, what else can we do? Who else is doing business and has a DUNS number? Well, let's put in the DUNS number, or in the phone number of the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan. All right, so if I went to the website, said, well, here's the clerk's phone number. Right, this is the contact number, 616-546-2381. Let's put that phone number in. (616) and you don't put any spaces, it'll do it all by itself. My problem is I can't really remember phone numbers that well. 546-2381, so I got to keep doing this. 546-2381, I believe, was the phone number. And click search. And it comes up 6th Circuit Court. Huh? 6th Circuit Court? It actually gives 2 of them. So these must be 2 different DUNS numbers. I haven't, gone through the process of getting all the DUNS numbers, but you can see they're using different +4s, right? So they're different physical locations. Like this is suite 399. This one doesn't have a suite. So they're different physical locations or mailing addresses now, I guess is what we're looking at here. So these would be the official mailing addresses that they gave DUNS to get a DUNS number. But they didn't do it as the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan. It's listed as the 6th Circuit Court. And so that's what this is showing you, because I don't want to keep going back and forth. I just did a bunch of them, right? And you can go do your own as you please. But when I put in, not the name Western, or United States District Court, Western District of Michigan, but the phone number that's on the website, and we'll just do it because I like to be thorough, as I can be, without being anal. Don't mind being thorough. All right, Grand Rapids clerk number 616-546-2381. 616-456-2381. Doesn't come up as a clerk's number. It comes up as the Sixth Circuit Court. But that's not all. Then I went and found the chief judge because, you know what? Hey, he's got a phone number on here too. If we go to his site, right? Go under judge's info. 616-456-2551. Right, that one. And when you put him in, it comes up as Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. Right, so his phone number, according to Dunn's, is for the Judiciary Court, State of Michigan. It's not for the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan. It has nothing to do with it. It's Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. Well, I thought these were federal courts. Right? It wouldn't be of the State of Michigan anything. It would be of the United States, if that's what it was. But apparently, they're not quite what they say they are. Now, I went to the United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan. United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan, right? Case information 616-456-23 or 2693. What does Dunn say that is when you put that phone number in? Well, it says it's the Supreme Court, United States. Which would make sense because there's only one, if the United States District Court is the district that's assigned to the United States, then it's the Supreme Court of the United States. United States Supreme Court. Right, the one in the Constitution that has judges, not the justices that we see. We'll get into who they are in just a second. But it's the district courts that have exclusive jurisdiction of bankruptcy, so that should have something to do with bankruptcy. They're just hiding it, right? So if I was going to write them now, I wouldn't write to the United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Michigan. I would write to the United States Supreme Court, 100 Division Avenue, room 200, Grand Rapids, Michigan, using this exact mailing address. Right? That's the address for the court, for the United States Supreme Court. So let's put that one in real quick. Where are we here? 616-456. 2693. 2693. 2693. Supreme Court, United States, which really means United States Supreme Court. It's a little bit more than just saying it's a bankruptcy court. It's the United States Supreme Court. I'm going to complain to them. Right? It's like they have us going to the wrong office because we're going by the title of things, which are more like DBAs than the business. Michigan Supreme Court. I found their phone number. Right? Went to their website, found the phone number. Well, they're listed on DMB as the Michigan Supreme Court Historical Society Incorporated and the Judiciary Courts of the United States or of the state of Michigan. Right? So again, using the phone number that's supposed to be for the court in Dunn's brings back these as being the entities using that phone number registered with Dunn's. If the Michigan Supreme Court isn't registered with Dunn's using that phone number, these entities are. Michigan Supreme Court Historical Society Incorporated and the Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. Well, that's what this dude was. Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan, and that's supposed to be a frickin' circuit or a federal court. Michigan Court of Appeals. I put in their phone number, and it comes up County of Wayne and the State Bar of Michigan, but not the Michigan Court of Appeals. Supreme Court of the United States, which is the entity where the justices are, right? That's what it would be called, the full legal name, I guess we would call it. According to Wikipedia, you put their phone number in, and it comes up Supreme Court, comma, United States, a subsidiary of the United States Supreme Court. Where this one here is a branch, right? This one's connected to the vine. This one is owned by the vine, but it's not the vine. United States District Court for the District of Columbia. Hey, they got a phone number. Put that one in. United comes up, Supreme Court, United States. Branch. Right? The same thing that my bankruptcy court came up as. United States, right? Supreme Court, comma, United States. Supreme Court, comma, United States. And that was the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, which is, similar to the Western District of Michigan. And then they have their own United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. And I put in the clerk's office number. And it came up Honorable Merrick B. Garland. Is using that number. Well, that's a business then, right? That isn't an individual. That's the name of a business. Hon, H-O-N, Merrick B. Garland is the name of an organization. But it's the number that comes up when you use the clerk's office number for the District or United States Court of Appeals, District of Columbia. So is that really, so my point is, well, is that really how you would contact the clerk of the United States Court of Appeals, District of Columbia? By using Honorable Merrick B. Garland, 333 Constitution Avenue, Suite 3836, Washington, D.C., 20001, 2827. Is that the proper mailing address for the clerk? And not, United States Court of Appeals, clerk's office, the way they show it online. I'm just saying, here's new mailing addresses to try to see if it gets a different response. Okay, so then I went local. Here in Kent County, it's called the 17th Circuit Court. And when I put in its address, it came up, or its phone number, 616-632-5220. It came up Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. Right? Well, so did what I thought was the Michigan Supreme Court. And the guy that's supposed to be the Chief Judge of the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan, his comes up Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. The 63rd District Court, the thing that I believe that is my district court, like my traffic court, I put in its phone number. And it comes up Kent County, Kent, County of, Inc. So in other words, County of Kent Incorporated as a business. Just like the probate court did. Kent, County of, Inc. The county clerk's office, Kent, County of, Inc. The Board of Commissioners, Kent, County of, Inc. But while all these were branches, hey, this was the headquarters. The Board of Commissioners is the headquarters of County of Kent, Inc. At 300 Monroe Avenue, Unit 1. Okay, keep that in mind, because when we go down here and I looked at the county administrator for the county and put in his phone number, it says County of Kent and Kent, County of, Inc. But these have different unit numbers. Unit 2. So apparently if I wanted to contact the county administrator or the county controller of County of Kent, I would have to put in County of Kent, 300 Monroe Avenue, Unit 2. Otherwise, I'd be talking to the corporation, County of Kent, not the government, County of Kent. And so I have never used this address, right? This one with the Unit 2. I didn't know it existed. I've tried again. Okay, so I did all those. Said, okay, that's interesting. Well, now let's go back and take like Supreme Court, United States, and just look at it for Michigan. Right? So now we're going to go, instead of using business phone, do a business name. And it would be, this part would be the same for any state. Supreme Court, comma, United States. But your state will change down here. But using Michigan as an example, it shows all these different addresses that are for the United States Supreme Court. You got one in Detroit, one in Kalamazoo, one in Flint, one in Grand Rapids, another one in Flint, another one in Grand Rapids. All of them are branches, branch, yep, active. Okay, 6 results. But if I went up here and change this, again, double click it and keep your finger off it and let it go to where it's going to go. And, oh, you bugger. Come on. Let's say Illinois. 14 results. Right? And all these, we got suites in there. Somehow they have specific addresses. They got special +4s or whatever. I don't know, but that's what makes it the United States Supreme Court, is that address, right? That's, if you want to write to the United States Supreme Court locally, and that was your local branch, that would be the address you would use. Like 750 Missouri Avenue, East St. Louis, Illinois, 62201 2954. So I thought that was interesting. We had all those. But one of them I found, because I had all these different ones, that was like, what is this 780 Baldwin? Where the hell is that at, right? And so I believe I just Googled on the phone number. Well, I did it on the address, or the phone number, and I find out that please contact Judicial Assistant Shelley Elzinga at 616-456-2264. So Judicial Assistant Shelley Elzinga must be working for United States Supreme Court. Another branch, right? So these are all those branches. Illinois, the same thing. Well, then I decided, okay, what if I search on the term I kept seeing that they were using for like the judge and the Supreme Court of Michigan and the 17th Circuit Court, which was the judiciary courts of the state of Michigan. And let's look at that real quick and see what comes up. Put that in here. Paste. Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. There you are. There's 273 hits on things that have to do with the judiciary courts of the state of Michigan. All of them having different phone numbers. Like this one doesn't have a phone number. That's interesting. All right, but different phone numbers, different phone numbers. Just on and on and on, all these different places. But there was something else I had found out about that. When I did a web search on that, I found this hit on this cage code. Remember we were talking about cage codes a little bit ago. It's one of the things I'm trying to get. Well, it turns out that this cage code is for the judiciary courts of the state of, Michigan. doing business as the 93rd District Court, Alger, County of Alger, basically. Judiciary courts of the state of Michigan, Judiciary courts of the state of, Michigan, DBA, 93rd District Court, Division, Alger County of, is an active commercial supplier with cage code and is tracked by Dun and Bradstreet. It's under Dun and Bradstreet number, right? So they got a Dun and Bradstreet number, they got a cage code. Well, that means they're working with the military. And, right, because the cage codes is through the military. Now, you can't get there unless you really want to, because you got to go through the secure. This site is not secure, is what they tell you. So a lot of people would be afraid to go any further. But if you want to know, you just got to go, right? So cage.dba.mil. You go to the web page. They take you in here and tell you about the cage code. But it talks about the forms they use. Well, I got to agree first. Yes, I agree. And they only have 4 forms listed. 1 to change the name, 1 to correct the name, 1 for a novation agreement, which is basically used to declare replacing an obligation to perform with another obligation, adding an obligation to perform, or replacing a party to an agreement with a new party. So if you're going to change the name, well, then you have to change the agreement that the old name was under. And it uses the standard form 30, SF30, which Rosita pointed out to me. There's some gentleman that's doing videos on this that he thinks that this is the form that they're using in courts. Well, I'm showing you that the courts are doing business as entities doing business with the federal government. They're not doing it as courts. Right? Because this form here is used to do business with the Department of Defense. Amendment of solicitation, modification of contract. So, if that was my understanding of what I was being told, that there's rumor has it that this is a form that the courts are using. It's like, well, why would they use them and how would it tie into something? And it just so happened that by doing this cage code thing and getting on the site and looking to see where the forms are, it's like, well, hey, here's one place that form is being used, right? The federal government is giving you a blank, giving an entity a blank SF30 form to fill out to send back to them, along with forms to change the names on agreements and correct names on agreements and replace entities on agreements. So is this how they're accessing our account? Like, see, we're under martial law, which means all the property has been confiscated. But it doesn't mean you can't have yours back. It was just confiscated until we figure out who's who, right? And if we go back and say, well, I'm not the belligerent, give me back my property, is that what'll happen? And that will be protected by the Department of Defense because we're the peaceful inhabitants, right? We're not the belligerents. Who are the belligerents? Well, the black robe priests that are stealing your property. Them and everybody else that's pretending to be courts that's actually doing business with the frickin' government under a frickin' cage code. 5AJB0 is a cage code for judiciary courts of the state of, Michigan, right? So this system must be set up for all the different states where they have judiciary courts of the state of, and then you put your state in there, and then another comma, and then the DBA for what's it doing business as, and we're probably going to find that this entity is doing business as all these district courts in Michigan. Like mine's a 63rd district court. This is for the 93rd, but there's like 100 plus district courts in Michigan. And they're all going to be DBAs for a thing called the Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. which is the entity that the Court of Appeals and the 17th Circuit Court and the guy that's pretending to be the Chief Judge of the United States District Court, Western District of Michigan. All these people are somehow tied to this thing called Judiciary Courts of the State of Michigan. Now, I didn't know any of this stuff until this week, right? So this is all brand new to me, and I don't know exactly what to do with it. But I'm just pointing it out because I'm going to go try to do something with it, which is get my own cage code and get in the book so that they agree with me, and then see if there's some inspector general thing doing with the cage code system to say, hey, how come these people with these cage codes are acting like courts? Right? What's their contract? So we'll see where this all leads. But other than that, the thing to do at the time was to get a hold of, for me, the Secretary of State, based on this letter I got that said I had, somebody had gotten a hold of D&B and was asking questions about my account from general government. Now, nobody's showing up with any guns. There's not been any helicopters. I've not had any threatening phone calls. None of that stuff's going to happen. Right? What's happening right now is it's being established that that's mine and not somebody else's. Right now, somebody else must be using it because it was made a debtor under a UCC in Kansas that I have no idea of by an entity called Robert A. Rutluski, Michigan, MI, which I'm going to go try to find on D&B, see if it's, I would just go through every state and see if it's located there to see where that thing was located at. But it's not in Michigan. And yet it put a claim against my business that until I had registered with D&B, I didn't even realize was being used as a business, as an organization. Rutluski, Robert Allen isn't my name backwards. It's the name of an organization backwards. Right? It's sort of like saying Illinois, state of, which is a way you would find a state on here. Right? Illinois, state of. Well, everybody call it the state of Illinois, but on D&B it shows up as Illinois, state of. With a 9-digit D&B number, or DUNS number, with no dashes. But this isn't just a DUNS number, this is a D&B DUNS registered, right? Registered, D&B DUNS registered number with dashes for Robert Allen Rutluski. And that's the one that the general government was checking up on. And so this is the one I'm trying to, or the other DUNS number. It doesn't matter to me. To me, they're the same. They're both mine. Right? Whether one system has my name backwards and the other one has it forward, as long as you all agree it's mine because it has the same address, well, then I'm okay with it. But I'm going to use Robert Allen Rutluski. But now there's a notice of bailment in Kansas from a zip code that starts with 666. Find out what that's all about. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. You all have a great day, and we'll see where this leads. Take care. At least I think I'm going to. Yeah.